My name is Eric Van Horn. I bought my first franchise in my 20s, and since then, I've owned 6 brands with 25 stores in 8 states. I've also helped 1,000 people find the right franchise for them. People like us who are not cut out for the 9-to-5 and like to work smarter, not harder. How do we find the right franchise, buy it, grow it, sell it, and how do we do it in a way to own the business without it owning us? Those are the questions, and I'm on a mission to give you the answers. Welcome to Franchise Secrets. Welcome to the Franchise Secrets podcast with your host, Eric Van Horn. And today's guest is Brad and Sherri Fishman with Fishman PR. Now, if you've been around franchising for any time at all, and you haven't heard about Fishman PR, then you're living under a rock. So they've had this PR company for a long time now. I'm going to let them get into the details of it. Fantastic people, culture driven, pro franchising, deeply ingrained into the franchise industry, and just good people overall. So, hey, you two, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. And we really appreciate it. We don't get to do this too often. We actually get to do something together.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And, I'll let Sherri kind of tell you how she started in the franchising industry.
Yeah. Please let us know, give us your journey from what you were doing pre-franchising into franchising.
Well, I think that I was born in franchising. I started right after college, got a job, worked in an agency, specialized in franchising, left there, started my own company while Brad was still working in a family business. And it didn't take long for him to want to join me and really build this thing. And so that was over 28 years ago that we started Fishman PR. And we started in the bedroom in the second floor of our house, Suite 200. Moved it to Suite B and then moved it to office.
Suite B was basement.
Yes, was basement. Right. So we've been living and breathing franchising literally for that long,
and we're lucky. We have 2 boys, and both of our boys are in the franchising industry. Matter of fact, our oldest, Zach, who I know you know very well, just joined us in September.
Where's he in the back? There's a picture of him in the back on the wall somewhere, right? We need to point it out.
Oh, no.
And our youngest, Jake, lives in Scottsdale, and he's working, he's doing, payroll service and HR for a company specialized in the franchising industry.
Right.
So it's been kind of franchising. It's been in our life. My kids have been on vacations all over the world with people in franchising. They've done internships. So it's kind of something that's very important to us. Our friendships go way back with lots of people.
Yeah.
We got to meet lots of great people, traveled with them, been to IFA conventions. Lane, as you know, Lane and I have started our own conferences. And it's just part of something that we love.
Yeah.
I love your
seriously. It's brand fam.
I love your conferences. And that's where we first met, was at one of the conferences that you guys and Lane Fisher puts on. And, it's all about relationships. Can you give us you guys know a lot of the who's who in franchising. You're part of the who's who in franchising. What are some of the iconic moments that you've had with somebody that you're maybe you were starstruck with them at one point in franchising, you knew their background. Any quick stories on that?
Well, I can say that, I started in this when I was actually young. Right. So, when I had some great opportunities, some of the really incredible leaders within franchising. Fred DeLuca was a client of mine when I was 24 years old. And through the years, until, right before he died, he was a huge fan of mine. And I was of him as well. And so sitting next to him, the last IFA he was at the general session still brings chills to me when I think of what he accomplished. Here's a guy who was 17-year-old and borrowed $1,000 from a friend, and boom, there you go, Subway. And so that's just something that always will stick with me.
Like I said, we've been around for a long time, but here last week we were in Dallas, Texas for dinner, and we had dinner with 3 past chairs of the IFA and the incoming chair. Matter of fact, we were at Catherine Monson's house. So we've been around, as a lot of these people have grown up in franchising. We've seen some of them start. We've seen some of the phenomenal leaders that have retired. And then some of the people is that say Doc Cohn is one of our favorite people. We had dinner with Doc last week and watched him grow up, and he doesn't want to give up the industry.
Yeah, he's the forever franchisee.
And I mean, Doc is, I won't say how old he is, but he'll be 80 next year. And but it's it's wonderful not only to learn from some great franchisors. Some of our best friends are franchisees and the suppliers. So we've seen all the, as I like to call it, the three different stools of it. We literally grew up in this business. Sherri grew up since her mid-20s. Well, first job at 22. So Sherri's been doing this, her whole adult life.
Tell us about these three stools. Or not the stools, the legs of the stool.
Three legs of the stool. And, so, I have to tell you from my perspective, and we do this all the time, you have a supplier, and the supplier supports the franchisee and supports the franchisor, but you have to know your role. And it's all about, we talk about relationship and what we call partnerships with them. So it's our job as a supplier to be that role model for suppliers to how to work with the system the right way, providing a good level of service, quality results for them, managing their expectation, and also representing the industry well, always being supportive. We give back so much to the International Franchise Association. It's so important to always help them because they don't have the staff, and they need as many cheerleaders as possible. So, it's all about that value prop of being in franchising and supporting the model. So, and understanding the speak, what the franchisor wants, what the franchisee wants. And, we all know what the suppliers want, but, it's kind of all.
But it really kind of goes back to the equal legs of the stool, because a franchisor has a great concept. And to make that thing successful, if he didn't, he would have kept it as corporate stores, corporate locations. He's got to find a right franchisee where the franchisees can make money. You support your franchisees, they make money, they buy more locations, more people get interested in the concept. Suppliers are out there to help the franchisor and the franchisee with their success. And so everyone goes in, and if everyone does their job, it becomes a very successful business model. And that's what it's really turned out to, is all of us know it's, if everyone makes money, everyone's happy.
Well, let's go into what Fishman PR is today. Who are your customers and how do you help them?
So who are our customers? It really ranges in many different industries within franchising, but it ranges from those concepts that are 30 to 40 units all the way up to thousands of units. And they are many different categories, from fitness to food to service to business. And they're all coming to us for two reasons. One is consumer awareness, brand awareness. And the other, of course, obviously, is generating franchise leads. So it's franchise development focused. And so they come to us for our guidance and our support in generating that coverage that they want, earned coverage. That's what they want.
And we've dramatically have changed over the last, probably 10 years.
Yeah.
And now we're working with a tremendous amount of franchisees. Matter of fact, in the past, we always say, we work with franchisors, we'll work with franchisees under the franchisor's direction.
Mm-hmm.
But now franchisees are coming to us. We do a tremendous amount of grand openings. Now we're doing a lot of franchisee support. Matter of fact, we have a proposal that just went across my desk yesterday, that it's a territory of franchisees who are, put it for a better word, are co-oping together to help us support their co-op in that marketplace.
Not a mandatory co-op from the franchisor, but a group of franchisees that are volunteering their region to be a co-op to work together. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, and in the past, we've never would have done that. But technology has changed that. Let's be honest, a lot of it's changed because our ability for us to take credit cards. So now we don't have to try to sit and bill individual franchisees and play collection agency as they're going through the process.
Right.
All they do is we have technology that puts the credit card in. They automatically get put in the system and they start working.
Right. It's important to understand too. It's all catering to the franchisee now. So we have staff that supports them and makes them feel special. It's not just part of another team. They are a set team, very focused on it. And with that, it's websites that are focused specifically for them. So they feel special. And it's not just part of the conversation. They are the conversation. They're front and center for that. So that's truly been a huge change for us.
One of the things in with PRs, being able to tell a story and tell it the right way, and there's an art to that. And I know you guys are experts at that. Can you tell us how you are able to help the franchisee or the franchisor tell a story?
Why don't you start in the franchisor and I'll go to the franchisee?
Okay. Well, it's really important. The basis of what we do has to start off with really learning the brand and asking the right questions. And it's understanding people, so we're understanding what the brand is all about. And it all has to do with all these different important filters that we look at and how we run our business. Everything from relevance to leadership to economics to impact and technology. All of these reasons all of these filters are reasons why media would want to talk to our brand. And then it's how we relate that to news, to relevant holiday ideas, to milestones that are happening within the system that makes it newsworthy. That's the whole idea behind it.
And taking it from newsworthy, we're now in the past, when we first started our company, and probably for the first 15 years, we were all publicists. It was telling the story to the media, getting them interested. Now we have a full content team. We have a full local, a local franchisee team. And now it's not only telling the story to the media, it's telling the story to influencers, getting them interested, bloggers, getting stuff that runs onto the website. Mm-hmm. And that's how our industry has changed dramatically over the last, 10 plus years. And it's getting people interested. And that's how we're getting there now. That's what drives the success of franchisee, which helps the success of the franchisor.
And the whole thing too is it's not just the earned media and the content, it's the marriage of them both. When you integrate the content and the earned media together, boom, the impact is tremendous. And that's how we love to run, have a little bit of both, and then figure out, obviously, through all of our tools that we pay for and we manage, figure out what's working, what's not. That's also the key of success.
And we've had fun over the years as, we've worked with Shelleys, Sun, and Brightstar pretty much since the beginning. Back then there were 4 or 5 in the senior care.
Yeah, this was when there was hardly anybody in senior care. We're talking about Shelleys, Sun with Brightstar Senior Care.
Yeah, and now it's turned out to be there's 100 plus different franchise systems. So our targets and what we have to do is dramatically changed. But you're seeing that frequently in a lot of different spaces. And you have to work with companies that you believe in. And that goes back to what we always talk about. You got to believe in the franchisor and believe in the systems they have, because, hey, let's be honest, a lot of franchisors are not going to be here 5 years from now.
Let's just pause there and let's talk about Shelleys' Sun. Like, what did you see in her, the system that she created, that you're like, I believe in her. I believe in this system?
I would say when we first met her in 2005, actually, it was her authentic story, why she went in the business. And we knew that she was a go-getter. She was so hungry for the knowledge of how to be that great franchisor. And she really put on all the homework and put in all the passion and committed to it.
Passion and hard work are a great combination. When someone has both of those attributes, you look at it and her knowledge for learning. And, we spend time with her at conferences like we're all talking about. She was going through all the knowledge, trying to do the best system that she could do.
Love it. Now, any franchisor out there, listen to what you just heard here, because this is one of the things that like vendors or like a PR company is going to be looking at in you as a franchisor. So franchisees, dive into the franchisees a little bit more, like helping them.
Well, franchisees are the backbone of an organization. You can have the greatest marketing, the greatest selling team, and everything out there, the greatest system. But if you do not know how to support your franchisees, no one's going to be successful here. And, one of my favorite stories back in the days, and I know you know some of these people, is Great Clips.
Yep.
Great Clips for Hair was a concept out there. And their idea was everyone's going to get their hair cut sometime or another. But focusing on what the franchisees, they had support studios, they had support salon in every major market they went to. And they really cared about the success. And then you saw what everyone likes to see. And what we all like to see is you see franchisees buying more than one.
Yep.
When I see franchisees buying multiple locations, that tells me something is going right there. They like who they're working with and they're making money.
Yeah. And not just buying more, but opening up more too. When you see that, that is a good sign. I love opening up more than one location. Anytime I'm getting into a new franchise that I buy personally, I want there to be the opportunity to open up, 2 or 3 very close back to back. And I have to believe in the brand to be able to do that, because doing that actually is less work for me as a franchisee, as an owner, to be able to open up a few. And so there's certain things that I look for in brands that like franchisees that are already doing that. So 100%. I love it when brands are doing that. I want to go into influencers. I had someone on this podcast who works with influencers. I just got off of a podcast on the Franchise Story podcast where I was talking to a franchisee of F45 Fitness. And I said, what's one thing that you would not want to give up in your business? If you couldn't, like, take everything away from you, but not this one thing. He's like, it's social media and influencer marketing. That's the backbone of his business. So you guys have seen things transition to more social media and specifically influencer marketing. And a lot of people that listen to this podcast, and I think in franchising in general, are probably now just starting to understand this buzzword of influencer marketing. For people like you and I mean, we've been hearing about it for a while now and ingrained in that. But for the novice out there, can you bring some context to influencer marketing?
Don't be, people here. I was about to say, don't be afraid of the word influencer marketing. It's not the Kardashians who are going to charge us $200,000 to talk about, and whatever it's going to do to talk about your product. Let's be honest, most franchisees are local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Find the influencers in your own marketplace. And that's what we do a lot of. That could be the president of the PTA. That could be a mommy blogger who has an influence about, where they take their children to exercise when they're 3 years old. It could be the restaurant that really caters to families. And, those are the type of people that really can change your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It transcends what we do because these are everyday people who are sharing stories, and it's their following. So what you're doing is you're marketing specifically to their following, and they're the ones that are sending the message. So an example of giving. Many times we'll do blogger or influencer events, but more times than none, we are actually doing one-on-one experiences, and that's more authentic. It's also more controlled, so it may be less scary for the franchisee to do that. And with that, it is a huge opportunity for you to get in front of their audience. And that's what you want. That's how you want to get customers.
And frequently, it could be the difference of where they might have 200 followers, but 40 of them do. And that changes the whole economics of a business.
Right.
Don't worry about if they don't have 20,000 followers. If they have 100 followers and 40 of them become customers, that's way more effective.
Right. So it's trial and error with that as well. And the whole idea is to make sure that you're natural when you're inviting the influencer in, because that's what they want. They know when you're trying to play it up.
I mean, we're going through that. We're going that right through now. We have a tool that finds influencers.
Yeah, and it's not just finding the influencers. It's really going so granularly and what they cover and what their demographic is. And I mean, it is quite amazing. As Brad mentioned before, technology has changed how we work with social media. You can only do so much when you're just searching on Google. So, and this truly makes it so much better.
And I can complain about that. It's a 5-figure price tag on this, but it's important for us to do our job the best.
Yeah, that's our cost, you know. But how are we going to be as the best that we can be is to have access and to have knowledge. Knowledge is power, and because that's how we're going to have successful programs for our franchisees and for the franchisors.
The customers that come in from an influencer, they're coming in, they already are following this person. And I'll stop using the word influencer because there's a person in your local market that has a following of that has an audience. People listen to this person, people watch this person, people respect this person. And as a franchisee, if that person now follows your brand, respects your brand, and is telling everybody else about your brand, that's an influencer. And it's that person that sends a customer your way because of who they are and how much they're respected. That customer is so much easier to close or to sell in your business than if it's off of an ad.
Customer before they walk in the door.
Right. And so this person is turning into your ambassador, in the local market and speaking for you and on behalf of you. And that's a cool thing.
In most cases, you have one chance.
Yeah.
So when they come in that door, you better realize that you better have your A game on. All franchisees would like to do it, but it's more than it could be the experience they had with one of your employees. So they got to make sure that the importance and the training, and that goes back to what you learned from the franchisor.
When you guys are looking for influencers out there for people, it's easier for you to do at scale because you have the people that know what to look for, how to find them, and like you said, Sherri, before, engage with them. It's, finding them is one thing, but then to engage with them and have them get educated on your brand is a whole nother level. And it's really hard for someone that doesn't even understand this whole space to actually go out and do that. So it sounds like it's going to be, pretty cumbersome for a franchisee to do unless they have experience in that. So like, what's the process for you guys? I know that this is not some like extraordinarily expensive thing for them to hire a company like yours. What does that look like?
As far as hiring us?
Hiring you guys. Because this is not a pitchy show. People on here know I don't pitch stuff, but I think this is really good for context. Is there a price range that
it goes all across the board? In most cases, it's going to go with a franchisor we've had experience with or we work with. For us to take on a local market in Minneapolis, that's usually where we're not going to go because it comes to the research of understanding the concept. So like you said, we're doing this on scale.
Yes.
And, we're doing, there's concepts out there where we do a lot of grand openings. And it's a 60-day project. And our projects are usually going to be around $1,500 a month per franchisee, which is coming out of the budget, which the franchisor is requiring the franchisee on their spend, on their grand opening spend. So that money is coming out of there.
And what does a franchisee get for that? For that $1,500 price tag on grand opening, what does that entail?
So you're actually assigned a person who is your representative, who is your PR person in the local market. You're interviewed for a press release, to introduce you to the market. We are researching the market, putting together pitch ideas for you, helping you with your pre-opening and your opening and your post-opening. So we're pitching stories in print, online,
bloggers, influencers.
And influencers. If there's an event, we will also help coordinate the event for you. We are inclusive in that. It's not just the print and online, but it's also TV segments. And with TV segments, it also includes media training. So media training at any point. And we're talking to you all the time. So there are check-in points at half point. There's and we also provide information at the end of the program as well.
And now it's changed where some of the concepts are hiring us to do pre-opening. So that could be when they sign a lease,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that all the things that go along with it. So, this has dramatically changed as what we used to do.
Yeah. And what Brad said about the one market where they had a co-op, that is becoming more and more popular.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be continuous.
Ongoing
for better word.
An ongoing PR effort, because we love what we did before. When you helped us do the grand opening, there was lines out the door. You got the buzz out there about it. We have loyal customers that started then that still are with us. We want to keep it going. What do we do? So, it's up to us to come up with ideas, events, stunts, influencer relations and management ideas. So it all has to correlate. And that's why what we do most of the time correlates with a national program, so we can keep things fresh.
Yeah.
Everyone's hoping that the economies continue to really do what it's doing now, growing. But Boom. Who knows what's going to happen with elections, what's going to go on.
Mm-hmm.
So we always have to look, we're excited about the way everything's going, but we also have to realize that if things are changing, the most important thing is to help the franchisees continue to have success.
Absolutely.
And as long as your franchisees are successful, you'll be able to go through those downturns.
Right. I know when you were looking at franchise concepts, right? That's the first thing you do.
Yep. Absolutely.
Franchisees, right?
Franchisees. That is, if you're not talking to franchisees and you're looking at buying a franchise, you're doing something completely wrong. And it's not even just talking to franchisees. You need to be asking them the right questions. And if you've never owned a franchise before, or you're talking to someone that's telling you about buying a franchise and they've never owned a franchise before, or multiple brands, they really don't know the right questions to ask. I mean, you guys have been in the industry. There's definitely insider language. There are things that the average person just doesn't know how to ask when you are just getting into the industry.
My favorite question to ask is, if you had to do it all over again, would you do it? And if it's yes or no, and the answer would always be, and we've met, I don't have to tell you this, everybody knows, there'll be some franchisees who are the number one franchisees in the system. They're still not happy.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. It was no matter how they were doing. But you want to know why? Well, I don't get along with the head of marketing. Whatever it is. I mean, there's situations.
Or you catch them on the wrong day. Something happened, and it's like something bad happened, and it might not even be related to the franchise, but it's a bad day.
But I love to ask, you'll see franchisees, no, I'm not happy. Well, why do you have 11 locations? and you're like,
why do you want to keep them?
Money.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and he just bought a new franchise, and actually one of my brands that I own, and he bought my share of that brand, and I was like, I'm super happy for him, because it's an incredible brand that he just bought. One of my all-time favorite brands, with just so many happy franchisees. But I said, there are going to be some unhappy franchisees in this particular brand. I said, but it's only because they don't know what the other brands are like. I said, if they were in any other brand, they'd be dead. That's like, this is such an incredible brand.
But when you're buying an existing unit, they can see your numbers. So they're buying it for they can see the numbers. Most cases, people are making money at it, and you're buying. I'm selling because I'm making money at it. And whatever the answer is, it's a good business. And if you follow the model, don't try to change. Yes. We all hear about the franchisee who invented the Big Mac. but for the most part, follow a system, because that's what works.
Wait until you have the time and you're bored enough to try to start fixing and tweaking things. Like focus on what you need to. Like, let's transition to ROI. Like PR, social media marketing, all of this stuff is really difficult to pin down an ROI. And I have a private Facebook group for franchisees only. So it's only franchisees in my private Facebook group. And if you're interested in that, just ping me, anybody listening, and I'll get you invited to it.
Yeah.
But one of the questions that came up today is, how do I know if I'm getting an ROI on my social media spend? And that may as well just say PR. Like, how do you guys try to educate your clients out there? Because it's not like $1 in, $2 out.
It's a hard thing. And, I'll be the first one. I've been telling the same story for 20 plus years. And
changed.
yeah, it's changed. I mean,
lot.
I've had a client who a very well-known person in franchising. His idea of success was if there was a picture. And he goes, if I have a picture, no matter what type of publication, because back in those days, there wasn't anything that you were sending kits. So you were putting into a two-sided folder, and they thought it was more important to see stories with pictures. And a lot of it, I've got clients now who tell me that, my franchisees are doing really well in this marketplace. So I assume the social media, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can really dig into it. And we have tools now that I'll let Sherri go into that a little bit deeper.
So the analytics and the behind the scenes look at what's happening and what generates the result that you want. We like to actually put together a scorecard, and we customize our scorecards according to what the client wants. And so it could be a huge story in the Wall Street Journal, but it may not have resonated.
They talked about healthcare, and that was not important to the ROI of the business.
Right. So and that was a huge story, but maybe one or two quotes in, Forbes.com or an MSNBC clip where the segment was just one or two, sound bites, and that just like resonated. And then of course it's all the sharing that you do of the earned media that it's so rated so highly on Google. So that's really what we want. That's where we want to go. It's so important to think about not just how we do it, where it ends up, and what's being said.
How does a franchisee reconcile a franchisor spending so much money on branding, but they think they're just doing it to sell franchises and not really helping out the local franchisee? Or maybe they see branding as just helping out in the really big markets, but it really doesn't help me if there's like a 1, 2, or 3 territory market. Like they're spending all this. Like from your perspective, like what would you say to a franchisee that is feeling like they're not getting the biggest bang for the buck for their marketing royalties?
It's gotten so much better now than where it was 15 years ago because of what goes on now with social media.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to take a branding story, let's say what it is. And with social media now it could go across. Back in the old days, the only thing you do was go across the wire. So if something ran in AP and it went to the Dakotas or Montana or South Carolina, but now you have the ability to take a branding story, send it out to your group of your followers or your LinkedIn group or your Facebook group or Instagram. There's so much more ability to do it now. But, it's like you said, everyone's not always going to. And same thing goes, we would get a great story about a concept in Chicago. And they talked to the one that was closest to the TV station. So they came in, it didn't help my location as much as it helped their location. Well, that's what we did. Our job is to help build the brand.
Yeah, but the whole thing now, what happens is that we allow, by sharing the coverage that we generate for them, it allows the franchisee to also have their own narrative in their local market about what's happening and make a buzz, continue to keep the buzz going. That's part of it. And also the franchise systems are really well equipped. They either have dashboards that help spread the news of these great storytelling techniques. That truly helps. I mean, and that's an awesome way to make the franchisees feel like they're part of the growth and success of the brand, and they want it. We're working with many of these franchisees are millennials, and they want to be part of it, and they want to make an impact with their market in the local market and just helping to build the brand. So that's so important for them to have a role.
And going back to the original part of the question, anything consumer or fran dev type of story is going to help both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been like that forever.
Yeah.
And, people have to understand a brand is very important to both the franchisee and to franchisor. And if it could be a consumer story going, wow, I have such a happy franchisee, and they decide they want to buy a location in the marketplace, even though it's completely on consumer.
Right, right. And then it's a big part of our tricks of the trade. It's a consumer story that's going to get the news outlet interested, and it's how you kind of integrate the franchise messaging.
And you're building the trust between the franchisor and the franchisee.
Yeah.
You guys put on some incredible conferences, and that's where I first met you. You both was in Park City, and I came in as the new guy. I'd never been to any of your conferences before. You two and Lane Fisher, and I got your cell phone number somehow, mutual friend, and said, Eric, meet Brad, and he's going to take you skiing before everything gets started like you would anybody else. And I ended up hopping in the car with you, and you took me skiing and spent the whole day with me. And you don't know how much I appreciated that, being the new guy in something like that.
We love what we do. And that's the key to everything is, Sherri and I and Lane put on conferences. We don't make money. As I joke around, we don't make money at it. It's a passion, what we do. It's our way of giving back. Lane and I met, and believe it or not, Lane and I met in the mid-'90s when him and I both didn't know many people. Sherri had left her old agency, and Lane had left his former boss and started his own thing. And we kind of met out of necessity. We didn't have the budgets to work, and we could go out to dinner with 5-6 people, and kind of the relationship developed. It started in Florida in the mid-'90s, and it's developed now. It's like we're about to hit 2020. And it's fortunate that some of my best friends, some of Sherri's best friends, Sherri just made a plan to go to Mexico after the IFA convention with
some friends.
Two chair, one chair, one former chair. And these are friendships. Well, but these are relationships that have friendships and relationships. It's a way of us giving back because we love what we do. We love when people succeed in franchising. And we want franchisors and franchisees to like each other. And so it's a way of communication, enjoying. Most cases, you will find our conferences have great food, great wine and alcohol, and great friendship. And in all that order, and people get to enjoy spending time away. It's unbelievable how many conversations go back to franchising because that's the common bond. But most importantly, all of us are doing something, an industry that's given us a wonderful lifestyle, wonderful friendships. And, we were out for dinner with some friends last night. And they go, aren't you getting sick of how much traveling? I guess sometimes I go, but in most cases, it's going like on vacation with your friends. We're going to conferences, but it's not like we're sitting in a McDonald's eating. We're having nice dinners. We're staying out, talking. And so it's turned into not only the business that Sherri and I chose, the industry we chose, but it's with people that we enjoy being with.
Right. It's a lifestyle for us. So, and he's being humble because, it's not just a good time on these conferences. You really get a ton of work done without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you might be on a ski lift. You might be, sitting, at a wine event, but you're getting a ton of business done. I can't even tell you how many people, have built and become partners by meeting at these conferences. It's pretty incredible, the stories that we could tell.
Unconference has led to some acquisitions over the years.
It's crazy what happens, so, and it all goes back to relationships and trust.
100%. If you are who should be coming to Unconference? I was there and loved it. And, I want other people to know things like that exist. A lot of people don't know that things like Unconference and, the other conferences like Conference
Springboard
exist.
is what, everyone knows. Springboard started out as a way.
Give us the real origin story of Springboard.
Springboard, so Lane and I were talking. I'm like, you have all these emerging franchisors that will go to the IFA convention, and they're overwhelmed. And they're like, it's wonderful. You'll have the founder of, whatever company's there. There'll be a founder there, and they're like, great. So he comes up, and there's 4,000 people there. And there's 4,000 people there. He goes, how can I talk to them? And the answer was, then everyone will have a dinner. And well, I'm not invited to that dinner. So Lane and I decided we wanted to do everything that was inclusive. Mm-hmm. So we started out and we were hoping to get 50, 60 people. We called in some favors to some big franchisors. They come speak to us, and they said, hey, you're going to have dinner with them in a casual atmosphere. You can go up and ask them questions. And 7 years later, we had over 475 people there this year. And it's turned out, but we haven't changed the format.
Right. It's a star-studded event as far as who is there. And many of the people that are speaking now are people that were attendees way back at the beginning and now are successful. So we feel like we're a part of that. I'm very proud of them, what they've done with that conference and others, because every year, you want to make sure you're providing that great value add. So it's hard.
And then the newest conference, as we've discussed before, is our Young Conference. And that was an idea about some of the ways some very successful people have been able to do with some outside groups, YPOs of the world, where they were helped them became. And we decided there's a lot of young franchisors that, would benefit from almost like a networking group.
And I've heard incredible comments on Young Conference because it was a smaller group this year. And that was, I was talking to somebody the other day who's looking at joining the mastermind that Badris Cooley and I are doing. We're helping out young franchisors grow and scale their businesses as franchisors. And I was talking to someone and he said he went to every franchise conference this year. And I said, out of all of those, I haven't been to all of them. What is your best one? The one? And within a half a second, is it Unconference, Young Conference. And then they started telling me he won the award. Maybe that's why there was an award that he won there, and that might have something to do with it. But he just started talking about the relationships that he built there.
And there was 103 people there.
Yeah, and I just saw on social media this morning. We have a mutual friend and that was teaching on LinkedIn and lead generation techniques at the conference. And he started a relationship with him, and relationships are so key. Relationships can move you much further ahead faster than basically anything else. I'm a huge believer in being connected to the right people and giving them value, not just taking, but what can I do to help them?
So we invite suppliers there, but we're pretty, I don't want to say strict on it, but we tell the suppliers there, you're going as our guest. Yes, you're the ones who help sponsor to put this on. But if you're going to hard sell, you're in the wrong place. And there's been suppliers we're not invited back.
Why don't you tell us who they are?
Yeah. It's just we don't want franchisors to go. Yep. We want them to develop a relationship with these people. Yep. And feel comfortable before they work with them. Yeah. And if you're going to be a hardcore sell, it's just not the right place for you.
No.
That's the culture. That's the culture that you guys have created. And I love that. Absolutely love it. Hey, let's talk about just briefly. I know that we're running up against a deadline. Your son, Zach, runs is a co-host of the Modern Business Podcast in franchising. I got to ski with him. He was super nice to me. He's way better than me and, showing me the ropes. But I found it fascinating of basically second generation coming up. And give us just some of your, the things that you've learned to anybody that maybe their son or daughter's coming up into the business, and how you didn't just put them in the business right away. He had his own journey to get to where he is today.
I'll let you do that, because that was definitely Sherri's. That
was my big, I got on a soapbox with that. He is such an interesting guy. I know I'm biased, but I have a lot of faith and trust in him, because he did listen. And what he listened to was, you have to have your own journey. As you said, you have to make your own reputation and earn the respect of those you'll be working with. And know that your reputation in the industry is going to precede you as you come into our business, because we've been here for so long. We're part of the framework of franchising in the PR world, and we're influencers, I would say, in the world. So you do what you want. And he basically went through that and took it truly seriously, from the internships he had in college to going and working within the franchise, sales and within the franchise space, technology. He understood it. He got it. And relationships were so key. People knew him. Oh, you're Zach's mom. I'm like, okay, I'm Zach's mom. That's good.
Yes.
And
so that's cool. I love
like
that.
at Unconference, we were fortunate to have some speakers that were second and actually, in one case, third generation. I don't know if you know AJ Titus.
I don't.
From his grandfather was in the franchise industry. His father's Ray Titus.
Yep.
Now AJ's president of Sinorama. And so AJ's third generation. And as he put it very nicely, he goes, hey, this is a family name. I grew up when I was a kid working with my grandfather, and I'm only as good, and my father one day could fire me. But we're careful is that we have a reputation for our family, and it's important to know that we're going to work hard. No one handed us anything. Troy, he goes, and I know the whole family, trust me, no one handed them. They worked hard to get there. But as they said, they're third generation fam. And there's going to be more and more as time goes on. You're going to see lots of second generation, both from a franchisor, from a franchisee, and suppliers.
Right. It's important. It's important to open your mind as the parent, okay, as the founder, to open your mind to the changes and how excited we are for the changes and the innovations that he's going to add. And it's going to take time for everyone to get used to him being here and for us to have him on staff. But it's just, he's part of our culture, and we're excited about it.
And we're excited. And we're, the other big thing is, which I'm really excited about, is through things like Unconference, he was able to develop, and he had a lot of them before, relationship with individuals, both sons and daughters of people who follow the similar footsteps, that they're all, their parents are in the business,
right?
But realizing they can really create their own way as they take it on into the future.
Well, as an outsider looking in, before I knew any of you guys, and just watching him, and I do that, I watch people and see how they are. I was thoroughly impressed with him, and knowing later, he's like, yeah, I've got to be the first one up and the last one to go to bed. And, he is working, he's working smart, and he's working hard. And so I'm glad I've developed a friendship with him, developed a friendship with you guys. And I appreciate you guys coming on today as a couple.
Thank you so much for having me. And we truly appreciate the friendships.
Yes.
And, we're thrilled that you were, like Unconference is where we got to get to know people really well. And we're thrilled that you'll be joining us again next year.
Absolutely.
I cannot wait.
Thank you so much, Eric. Lots of fun.
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.